the reading, the hearing, and the obedience to his word. Then Jesus went out to the lake shore again and taught the crowds that were coming to him. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting in his tax collector's booth. "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. So Levi got up and followed him. Later, Levi invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as dinner guests, along with many tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. There were many people of this kind among Jesus' followers, but when the teachers of religious law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the tax collectors and other sinners, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with such scum?" When Jesus heard this, he told them, "Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. I have come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know that they are sinners." You know, it's difficult for us in the 21st century to understand the stigmas. Most of our stigmas have gone away. But in these days, there was not only a stigma, there were rules. And the rules of Judaism said that if you're a Jew, you didn't eat with Gentiles. You didn't touch Gentiles. You didn't go out and do business with Gentiles if you could avoid it. And in fact, you were supposed to keep yourself separate from all of that. And again, it's really hard for us to understand that kind of dividing line. It's even harder for us to understand how all of those would apply to somebody just because they were a tax collector. We have attending this church somebody who works for the immigration department. We have people who work for other branches of government, and we don't dislike those people. We don't have a problem with those people. Okay, maybe some of you do. But back in these days, they did have a problem. Such a problem, in fact, it's interesting that they give his name as Levi. We know him as Matthew. The original name Matthew apparently is Metayahu, which sounds a lot like the Prime Minister of Israel today. His name was Levi because he would have been a part of that family called, that tribe called the Levitical tribe. He would have been one of the special chosen priests. But as soon as you become a tax collector, you cease to be a member of the synagogue. It was sort of like being disfellowshipped. Boom, you're done. As soon as you become a tax collector, you can't touch a Jew or they become unclean. You can't touch a Jew's house or they become unclean. In fact, even people who were handicapped, who were begging on the street, were not supposed to accept money from tax collectors because it would be unclean. It would be the profits of robbery. And I don't know if we can ever get it, but let me just try briefly. Imagine for a moment, heaven forbid, that Iran was able to plant bombs in all of our major cities. And they said, in exchange for this, not setting off those bombs, you need to pay us tribute of $1 trillion a year. And the way that we're going to collect the tribute is that's $3,000 for every man, woman, and child in the United States, and we're going to send people to the house. And then they started hiring your neighbors to come to your house to get the money. Those people would be traitors, wouldn't they? And that's exactly how these people saw Levi and all the other tax collectors. They were traitors, and worse, they were ceremonially unclean. And so they were anathema. There was no way that you could touch them. In fact, it's interesting. Jesus just got through touching a leper. Remember last week? He touched a leper because the Son of God cannot be made unclean. And here he is now eating with these, we don't even like the word, these sinners. He's eating with the sinners, and the scandal is that he didn't require their repentance and cleansing first. He went straight out and started eating with them. And eating in those days did not mean sitting at a table at Olive Garden. and having other people sit at other tables at Olive Garden, or having somebody sit at the other. In those days to eat, you laid down on the floor right up against somebody else with the level of intimacy frequently that we only see in bed. You're laying down up against another fellow. And they would have been very close together. They would have been touching. And this would have been completely unacceptable. Now, the question of all that is, do you know somebody? Do you know some people? You know, those ones that you don't like to be around because they whine so much. The ones that complain, they smell, they backbite, they fail to pay their bills. They don't mind their manners. They don't use good taste. They don't keep up with the conversation. They slow down everything you're trying to do, and they don't work very hard either. You know, those very people are often people who have been also injured in some way in the past. And the question we have to ask ourselves are we willing to move our hearts and ourselves into those people's worlds? Today, we have a really interesting ceremony that we do. And this ceremony is prescribed specifically by Jesus, so we're doing exactly what Jesus told us to do. Now, the form and the format and the look of it may be, in fact, different, but the thing that we're doing, the essence of what we're doing, is exactly what Jesus told us to do. And let's refresh our memories. So this was the Passover, and the Passover was a celebration of deliverance from slavery, and Jesus took the Passover and he converted it into a celebration of God coming to earth to move and live and love with us and then to die for us. And at the end, he put an extra special twist. It turned from a commemoration to a celebration to a prophecy of a reunion. So we've got a deliverance, a celebration, and a reunion, all separated, all celebrated here today between all of us. And we understand that this is to be celebrated by people who understand and who are part of the celebration. Because Jesus, God, chose to come and live in our world with us. For 25 years, I spent a lot of time with criminals, bad drivers, and people whose marriages had either imploded or exploded. It isn't because I especially liked those people more than anybody else. I spent a lot of time with those people because I had skills that I could use to help those people in those times of need. In that same way, Jesus came to eat with Levi and his friends because he had special abilities to help those people in their time of need. Are we prepared to move into the world of the unpleasant? There's a ministry in Dallas, and it's called We Are Cherished. And it's a ministry where women go into strip clubs. And they take gift baskets to strippers to help them recognize that they're loved. Now, if you found out that your pastoral staff was spending a lot of time at strip clubs, you wouldn't be very happy about that. And probably that ministry shouldn't be undertaken by men at all. But the fact is that there are women who go to strip clubs every time they open in order to bless the sinners who work there. So the question is, are we willing to move into the lives? Here's Jesus celebrating a dinner, and it's our opportunity to have a meal with God. And the question is, are we willing, as God who came to have a meal with us, are we willing to have a meal and open ourselves up to the lives of those, dare I say, those who know the truth but are not living it? Because that's the worst group, isn't it? Oh, you say it's easy. If a person is broken down and they've never heard the truth, they're, unchurched, we need to go reach those. But what about the ones who grew up in this room and they know the truth? You know they know the truth because you taught their Sabbath school class. Are we willing to enter the lives of those who know the truth and you know they aren't living the truth? That's Levi. And that's Jesus. In this story, are we willing to be Jesus? Are we willing to live out Jesus' life in our life in Keene? Before Jesus and his disciples took this special ceremonial dinner, Jesus washed their feet to teach them that service meant being humble enough to lead from the knee. And so today, as always, we give the opportunity for us to follow Jesus' specific model and to wash each other's feet. The places for the foot washing are mentioned in your bulletin. They're the usual places, the places we do it each time now. And so I, at this point, dismiss you to wash one another's feet.